The crisp mountain air filled my lungs as I stood on my newly constructed deck, admiring the panoramic view of the pine-covered peaks that surrounded our retirement community. Little did I know that this simple home improvement, this deck I'd designed myself as a professional engineer with 30 years of experience, would soon become the battleground for one of the most intense HOA revenge stories I'd ever experienced. The Homeowners Association drama was about to begin, and I had no idea just how far the HOA board would go to enforce their arbitrary interpretation of the community rules. My name is Robert, and I've spent my entire career designing bridges and commercial buildings. When my wife and I retired to this mountain community in the late 1990s, we thought we'd found paradise. The quiet streets, friendly neighbors, and breathtaking views seemed like the perfect place to enjoy our golden years. We purchased a modest home with a stunning view of the valley below, and I immediately began planning how to enhance our property to take full advantage of the natural beauty surrounding us. The deck I designed was a masterpiece of engineering, structurally sound, aesthetically pleasing, and built to withstand the harsh mountain winters. I submitted my plans to the HOA for approval, as required by the community guidelines, and received written permission to proceed with construction. 3 months and $15,000 later, my deck was complete. It was the pride of my retirement, a place where my wife and I could enjoy our morning coffee while watching the sunrise over the mountains. Then came the letter. A thick envelope from the HOA board arrived, containing not just one, but multiple violation notices. The HOA Karen, who had recently been elected as board president, had decided that my deck violated the community's architectural standards. Never mind that I had received approval in writing. Never mind that my deck was built to exceed all safety codes. According to the new board, my deck was too visible from the street and didn't match the community's aesthetic. The fines started small. 100 here, 200 there, but quickly escalated. Within 2 months, I had accumulated over 50. 0 in fines, with threats of liens against my property if I didn't either remove the deck or pay the penalties. I tried to reason with the board, showing them my original approval documents, explaining the engineering principles behind my design, but they wouldn't listen. The board president, in particular, seemed to take personal pleasure in my predicament. What would you do if your HOA tried to fine you for something they had already approved? Would you pay the fines, remove the improvement, or fight back? I decided to fight back. As a professional engineer, I knew that the key to winning this battle was documentation and legal strategy. I hired a local attorney who specialized in property rights and HOA disputes. Together, we prepared a case that would not only clear my name and eliminate the fines, but would also expose the HOA board's abuse of power. The first step was gathering evidence. I collected every document related to my deck: the original plans, the written approval from the previous HOA board, photos of the construction process, and even examples of other homes in the community with similar structures that hadn't been cited for violations. I also documented every interaction with the current HOA board, including their refusal to review my evidence and their increasingly hostile communications. My attorney filed a formal complaint with the state agency that oversees homeowners associations in our area. We also requested a hearing before the full HOA membership, presenting our case to the homeowners rather than just the board. The response was immediate and vicious. The HOA board retaliated by increasing the fines and threatening legal action against me. Do you think the HOA made the right decision in fining me for an approved improvement? Vote now. The turning point came when I discovered that the HOA board president had been using her position to target specific homeowners she personally disliked, while allowing her friends to violate the same community rules she was enforcing against others. With the help of some tech-savvy neighbors, we obtained copies of the HOA's internal communications, which clearly showed the board's discriminatory practices and abuse of power. Armed with this evidence, my attorney filed a lawsuit against the HOA board, not just on my behalf, but on behalf of all homeowners who had been unfairly targeted. The lawsuit sought not only the elimination of my fines, but also damages for the board's misconduct and a court order requiring new elections for the HOA board. The day of the court hearing arrived, and I walked into the courtroom with my attorney, carrying a thick folder of evidence. The HOA board president was there, surrounded by her supporters, looking confident and smug. As the proceedings began, I felt a mix of nervousness and determination. This wasn't just about my deck anymore, it was about justice and property rights for all homeowners in our community. My attorney presented our case methodically, first establishing that I had received proper approval for my deck, then documenting the arbitrary enforcement of rules, and finally exposing the board's discriminatory practices and abuse of power. The HOA's attorney tried to argue that the board had the right to interpret and enforce the community's architectural standards as they saw fit, but the judge wasn't convinced. When it was my turn to testify, I spoke from the heart about what this community had meant to my wife and me, about how we had followed all the rules and procedures, and about the injustice of being punished for doing exactly what we were told we could do. I explained my engineering background and how I had designed the deck to be both beautiful and safe, enhancing rather than detracting from the community's aesthetic. The judge listened attentively, asking pointed questions of both sides. As the hearing concluded, I could feel the tension in the courtroom. The judge announced that he would take the matter under consideration and issue a written ruling within 30 days. Those 30 days were among the longest of my life. The HOA board continued to harass me, sending additional violation notices and even threatening to foreclose on my home for non-payment of fines. But I held firm, knowing that justice would prevail. When the judge's ruling finally arrived, it was everything we had hoped for and more. The judge not only dismissed all the fines against me, but also ordered the HOA board to pay my legal fees and damages for their misconduct. Most satisfyingly, the judge removed the entire HOA board from their positions and ordered new elections with oversight from a court-appointed monitor. The victory was sweet, but the truly satisfying revenge came when the new HOA board, elected by the homeowners rather than appointed by the previous regime, not only affirmed my right to keep my deck, but also asked me to serve on the Architectural Review Committee to help ensure that future decisions would be fair and consistent. Have you ever faced HOA injustice? Share your story below. Today, my deck stands as a testament to the power of standing up for what's right. It's become a gathering place for neighbors, a symbol of resistance against arbitrary power, and a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, justice can prevail. My HOA revenge story has become legendary in our community, inspiring other homeowners to question unfair rules and demand accountability from their HOA boards. The experience taught me valuable lessons about property rights, community governance, and the importance of fighting for what's right. It also showed me that even in retirement, a professional engineer can use his skills and knowledge to make a difference not just in buildings and bridges, but in the lives of people and the health of a community. What would you do in this situation? A. Fight legally. B. Move out. C. Comply with the HOA demands. Looking back on this homeowners association drama, I realized that my victory wasn't just about winning a lawsuit or keeping my deck. It was about standing up to bullying, about ensuring that rules are applied fairly to everyone, and about protecting the rights of homeowners against power-abusing boards. My HOA lawsuit became a property rights victory that benefited not just me, but everyone in our community. If you're facing similar neighborhood disputes, remember that knowledge is power. Document everything. Understand your rights, and don't be afraid to challenge unfair decisions. Sometimes, beating HOA fines requires legal action, but the satisfaction of justice is worth the fight. As I sit on my deck now, watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of orange and purple, I'm grateful for the journey that brought me here. This HOA revenge story has a happy ending, but it required courage, persistence, and a willingness to fight for what's right. And that, my friends, is the most satisfying revenge of all. This story is for entertainment purposes, but the lessons about property rights and standing up to injustice are very real. Have you ever had to fight your HOA? What was your experience? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't